Hello, hello. So we are going to be doing the live reaction and then breakdown of Rings of Power Season 2 trailer that was just released a couple days ago. If you're new to the channel, know that I didn't enjoy Season 1. I have my issues with it, but there are many people in the community that do enjoy it, and we have plenty of discussion about it. And that's what we try to do here: is we find shows and movies and whatnot that we enjoy, or and some that we don't, but we have discussions about it. Just because we like different things doesn't mean we can't have respectful discussions, because I feel like a lot of that has been missed in society in general. It's been a lot of hate back and forth, bashing back and forth, and the respect of one's preferences has been lost. So that's what we try to do here. We can disagree and like different things, but we can still have a respectful discussion about what we're watching. But yeah, massive Lord of the Rings fan. There's if you wanted to search on the channel Ballin's Expedition, you'll find a story that I wrote that I think shows my love and respect for the world. But yeah, without further ado, let's watch the trailer together, and then I'll do my thoughts, and we'll break down the trailer bit by bit there.
Sauron sees himself as master of all Middle-earth. He seeks to rule it not only through conquest, but by bending the minds of all its peoples to his own. And for that he needs not armies.
No!
But rings.
In choosing to wear those rings, you have all become his collaborators.
I know you believe this ring is deceiving me, but I believe it is guiding me.
Okay.
All this may be by his design.
These rings may be how he attains power.
They must be destroyed.
We will discuss the rings once you have answered the question. Who is this man?
He is no man.
Oh, they look good.
Deceived me. He is Sauron.
What am I to call you?
A sharer of gifts. Our work begins now.
I have walked across mountains and deserts to help my friend find his destiny. One the fate of the world may depend on.
Is it my task to stop the fire? Is it my task to face Sauron? To try and cheat death might lead to an even greater catastrophe.
Father, take off the ring.
I'm afraid, Durin.
Every soul in Middle-earth is in peril. Will you abandon them to their doom?
No, what have you done to me?
Leave Sauron to me.
Promise me, Elrond. You will not stop until he is destroyed.
Forgiveness takes an
Battles look great. Oh, is that an
Need
Entwife?
your axe, old friend.
Fight with me. Fight with our friends!
When the darkness falls, there are always some who rise forth. shine. You will give me the nine.
Okay. Well, lots of stuff to take in there. Initial thoughts are, it seems like there's a lot more that's going to happen, which I'm excited for. Season 1 I felt was very, very slow, and which has been a common theme in television right now, where you get these weekly releases and they're extremely slow, and then halfway through the season they try to save it with like one big action sequence, something to draw you in and keep you interested until the end, so that you can get through to the end, kind of thing. So it seems like there's a lot more happening, so I'm excited for that. There's some cool things to see, which I think are smart to do, in terms of that they don't have to, there's not a whole lot that they need to worry about in terms of messing with the lore, and I like that, and I wish Amazon would focus on that more, on doing things that, because there isn't a lot of detail on, they can do kind of what they want with it, and I'm okay with that. But then there's some stuff that I'm a little bit concerned about. So, but we'll go in section by section here. And because the first thing I'm a little bit concerned about is the beginning here. Is this discussion stuff. Nailed who Sauron is, and that's fine. It's this implication of these rings. Now, I love this helmet. I don't know if we're giving it to Sauron, or if it's going to end up going towards the Witch King, which either or I'm okay with. The Witch King, the design of the Witch King's helmet in the Lord of the Rings, like in Peter Jackson's movies, was meant to look similar to Sauron to some extent. So I'm okay with this. I think either or is fine. Love that. But it's these ring stuff.
Through conquest, but by bending the minds of all its peoples to his
Yeah.
And for that he needs not armies.
No!
But rings.
So it's this stuff here that, for those that don't know, in the stories, in Tolkien's writings, the elven rings were made last. It was the men and the dwarven rings that were made first, and then the elven rings were made later, and the elves made the rings without Sauron's influence. They were kind of made in like, basically when Sauron, in a disguise, had Celebrimbor make the rings, and the truth was found out about who this pretender, this deceiver was. It was like, oh, it's actually Sauron. Celebrimbor made 3 elven rings kind of in secret to Sauron to kind of combat the corruption that Sauron poured into the other rings. So because the 3 elven rings weren't made with Sauron, his corruption wasn't poured into them. And they're not there. It doesn't give you this lust of power. You're not going to be influenced by Sauron. And it's why Gandalf, which starts as Círdan, and then I think Gil-galad technically, Elrond and Galadriel have the 3 elven rings, and they use them. They use the power of the rings because Sauron didn't influence them. So I'm a little bit confused mostly on how we're going to get from Sauron's using these elven rings to control Elrond and Galadriel here, and then potentially Gil-galad, I'm assuming, when they're going to use these rings later. They use them for their own powers later, and they have no fear of Sauron. We'll have to see, I guess, how they make that disconnect. But I get, for the sake of Amazon's story, that yes, because Sauron did indeed help them make these 3 elven rings, they would be corrupted, and you shouldn't use them and all this stuff, which in Amazon's world makes total sense. But what bothers me is that because of the lore-breaking situation that I just discussed, I guess, yeah, I'm just confused, and I guess worried on how much further away from the lore we're gonna break.
In choosing to wear those rings, you have all become his collaborators.
Right, which, again,
I know you,
that's not the case in the story. They didn't choose to become his collaborator because an Elrond who's fighting not to use the rings gets one of the rings. So, I don't know, maybe they... Maybe I have who gets the rings at the start wrong, but I'm pretty sure it was Elrond. However, maybe it wasn't Elrond, and it was Galadriel, Gil-galad, and Círdan, and then Elrond gets Gil-galad's ring, and Gandalf gets Círdan's ring, or something like that. So maybe he's against them, and then he only gets the ring after, Sauron dies. He's like, okay, it's safe to use, which I guess would make sense, but I'm pretty sure he gets one of the rings originally. But anyways, that's just, yeah.
I believe this ring is deceiving.
We'll move on.
But I believe it is guiding me.
See, and that's a fair statement, right? Maybe they're not actually being controlled by Sauron, so to speak, and the ring is actually, the light of the ring is guiding her. I'm okay with that. Orcs look great, by the way.
All this may be by his design.
These rings may be how he attains power.
They
Yep.
must be destroyed.
We will discuss the rings once you have answered the question.
And they're not going to be destroyed because they use them later, or they have to use them later.
Is this man?
About
He is no more.
time that Galadriel finally tells them who he is. Now, okay, these wraiths. I love the look of the wraiths, and I love that we're having wraiths in this show. I love that. I think it's super cool. I'm just confused on where these wraiths are coming from. I'm looking up at my map of Middle-earth here above my screen. And maybe I just don't understand the origins of the wraiths in general as a whole very well. But I'm pretty sure the wraiths were kind of just like a product of war in Middle-earth in many different locations, because there's wraiths all over Middle-earth. But the major one, of course, being the Barrow Downs. However, the Barrow Downs is only a thing in Tolkien's writings because of the Witch King of Angmar. The Witch King has his reign over Arnor and the destruction of men altogether, and through that, the Barrow Downs is made. You have Amansul being destroyed to Weathertop, and then there's the Great Plague that Sauron did over the world, which created, whites in different areas because it was this big plague that was going out. The whites are always a product of war and corruption and all that stuff. Lost souls killed by evil that are now being controlled by evil, basically. the dead rising to fight for the Witch King, fight for Sauron, etc. So none of that has happened yet. War hasn't happened in Middle-earth. So I'm just confused but curious where these wights are coming from. Obviously, we don't know where in the show these wights are appearing. It could be near the end of the season, so it would make more sense. I get Lothlorien vibes watching this just because of the trees. So that's just interesting to me when I see Lothlorien. I think I cut this out of my first breakdown because I realized that the timeline didn't make sense, but I'll mention it now. Just north of Lothlorien is the Celduin Vale, which is where Isildur dies. After Sauron's defeat, Isildur dies. That's where Gollum finds the ring, etc. So like there are technically wights there. They're just not there yet. That was my original thought, and then it's like, well, Isildur doesn't die yet because Sauron's not dead yet because we're not even near that point in the story. But yeah, there would be wights there. When I look at them, I kind of get like Corsair Harad vibes, but the environment doesn't match. There would be wights near Dol Amroth, but I don't think we've established that Dol Amroth has been built yet. There would be wights. There could be wights in Enedwaith, which kind of fits a bit. I just don't know why they're there yet. But and if they're not they can't be the Paths of the Dead wights yet. That like Aragorn recruits, they can't be those, and those are technically a little bit different, being Oathbreakers. So it's not them, and if it is them, then that's a whole different issue. But could be Enedwaith. That would be my immediate guess. If we're trying to stick as close to the lore as possible, Enedwaith would be my best guess. Or Mirkwood, I guess. It's just tough because a lot of these places haven't seen war yet. But anyways, I love that there's wights, and I love the design of them. They look great. Something to look forward to. I'm excited to see them. And this is where I'm like,
Call you a sharer of gifts.
Great. Love that. Share of Gifts. Could have called him the Lord of Gifts. That's his title, but it doesn't matter. I just wish that people keep saying, I've been told that it's about the rights that they had access to at the time, and it doesn't make sense to me, but fine. I wish this is the look and the Sauron that they used in the first season. Because to me, this little interaction shows that Celebrimbor doesn't know who this is. Even though it's the same actor, and that's for the audience, and I totally get that. But because he had a different look in season 1, and he has a new look in season 2, it makes it kind of goofy and silly for the audience to think that anyone would be confused by this because it's the same actor. We know it's the same face. The audience knows this. So it makes it harder to believe that all the other characters in the world are being deceived by this. And there's no reason that you can't just say, oh, well, the actors or the characters, are seeing a different face because Sauron puts on disguises. That totally makes sense. It's just, it's still goofy from an audience perspective. And I just wish that this is the look that they originally had, and this is the character that went along with Galadriel's journey through Numenor and all that stuff. I think that would have been much better. But people said that they didn't have the rights to that specific look. So because of that, they had to turn him into a man instead of an elf. I don't know. I just don't know where this part is, because is he sieging Aragian, and then he shows up. I don't know. And we're getting too deep into it right now. I love this.
I have walked across mountains.
We get to see some like rune, potentially like Men of Rune, like just a different design. I'm okay with that.
Desert.
There's different looks, different armor. That's fun. Deserty, great.
To help my friend find his destiny. Won the fate of the world.
I think these are supposed to be the those like cultists that were in the first season that were like, people call them the female wraiths because when they were like hit with the light, they looked like the whites on that Frodo saw, the Nazgul, right? So they looked the same, but they were just female. So I don't know if that's just what these ladies remind me of.
Is it my task to stop the fire?
Yes.
Is it my task to face Sauron?
So I just wanted to share this because I thought it was interesting. There's a theory going on around the internet right now that this dude here, Pharazôn, becomes the Witch King. It's just a theory that's going around on the internet. I don't know if it's based on any truth, or what. It's just, someone shared it with me, so I thought I'd share it in the video. That there's a theory that he's the Witch King, or he's the one that becomes the Witch King. I don't hate it, but I don't love it. The whole point of the Witch King and the Nazgul was that, or their whole backstory, is that no one knew who they were. They were kings of men, but they weren't people of note. They were people that Sauron came across, and that they were easily influenced by him, and he promised them power and all that stuff, and they became the Witch King and the Nazgul. So they're supposed to be a mystery. However, because their identity is not technically written, he could be the Witch King. It's an interesting idea. I would prefer it if he would become like a leader of the Black Numenorians, and from there become maybe a Nazgul instead. And that the Witch King should be someone of Arnor, which I know they're descendants of Numenor, but this Pharazôn here may be establishing, like having a group of people that go south and make Umbar, and he's the leader of the Black Numenorians, and that he becomes a Nazgul that way. I think that would be more interesting to me, and I would enjoy to see that more. But yeah, I just wanted to share that. It's just a theory. It's not based on any fact whatsoever.
To try and cheat death.
Okay, this was interesting that I saw. I don't know if this is just edited to look this way, or if this is actually what's happening. But is Sauron here controlling the Balrog, and that's why the Balrog goes rampant through Moria? I don't hate the concept of it, but I dislike that it defeats the reasoning behind the dwarves' downfall, right? The Balrog was awoken and was rampant throughout Moria because of the dwarfs' greed for, digging too deep. They dug too greedily and too deep, as Saruman says. So it takes away from that aspect, but the idea that Sauron is manipulating and influencing these different creatures and elements throughout Middle-earth to start his war, so to speak, makes sense. And it's there's something that is influence that there's influence for every race right now. So he's fighting the elves. There's the whites there. He's influencing what happens to the dwarves through the Balrog here. He's influencing what's happening with in the east, right? With the cultists that are over there, and the people of Rune. And then there's what's going on in the south. So like I see the vision at least.
Might lead to an even greater catastrophe. Father, take off the ring.
Is he supposed to be Durin the Fourth? I don't remember. I do like this Durin here talking to his father Durin. I'm assuming it's Durin the Third and Durin the Fourth. Durin the Third dies to the Balrog, and this is written by Tolkien. Durin the Fourth wasn't. No, that's not true. Durin the Fourth was, I think. Because the last Durin the Fourth, is who died to the Balrog. And he made his son Nari, Nain, I don't know, it starts with an N, in charge of Moria when he fell. So technicality, the greed should still be the same between the third and the fourth, but I'm okay with this idea of the son telling his father, like, we got to stop this. This isn't good. Us being too greedy is not. It's going to be the downfall of our people. This ring that you got, it's making you sick. It's poisoning your mind. It's making you too greedy. All that stuff. So I don't hate the concept. I think it'll be a fun story.
I'm afraid, Durin.
Yep.
Every soul in Middle-earth is in peril.
Yeah, so that was kind of right. There's Sauron's affecting every soul in Middle-earth through the different parts of Middle-earth. So that all makes sense.
Will you abandon them to their doom?
So let's talk about Tom Bombadil, because I haven't actually talked about Tom Bombadil on the channel yet. I want to pause it on his face. Okay. So Tom Bombadil is a really tricky character. And it was, as much as people are not necessarily super upset, but are bothered, but accept that Tom Bombadil wasn't in Peter Jackson's movies, is because of how tricky Tom Bombadil's character is. Now, for those that don't know the stories, or don't know Tom Bombadil super well, Tom Bombadil is a character that, for the readers, we know he lives in the Old Forest. So that's where we learn about him. And he has no real connection to the people of Middle-earth. He is his own entity. He's his own soul. He kind of just lives out his life freely as he chooses and is not affected by anything in Middle-earth. He puts on the One Ring. Frodo gives. He grabs it from Frodo and he puts it on, and it has zero effect on him. It doesn't turn him invisible. It doesn't make him more powerful, more greedy, etc. So he's a very unique character in that way. And he doesn't influence the world at all. He doesn't try to fight Sauron. He does help the hobbits escape the Barrow-downs. Because of just it's not like he doesn't want people to perish. He's a good soul. So he helps them in their time of need. And he knows that the Barrow-downs was kind of stirring up some more, and he kind of wants to watch over it. So, he knew that the Barrow-downs was a problem, so he goes and saves them. And that's kind of like his only true like influence on the world, aside from, you know, tending to the old forest with his wife Goldberry. So him telling Gandalf that the world is in peril and that he needs to protect it is just a bit odd to me that Tom Bombadil would care about that, because he doesn't really, because it doesn't affect him. And if he cares so much now, why doesn't he do it later, right? It's all these later implications that Amazon needs to be careful of, right? With doing this prequel story, that if they do too much and change too much, it has all these later implications on the rest of the story, that whether from the movies and from the books in general. So I can foresee some ways to go around that. Maybe Tom Bombadil is acting as a voice for the Valar, so when Gandalf arrives, Tom Bombadil tells Gandalf of his mission. It's like, your mission is to save Middle-earth and to see the defeat of Sauron. That is your purpose here. That is why you're here. That's why you were sent here. I can't do it because it is not my purpose. I need to convince you to do it. And once you take charge of that, then I can step back. So there's ways around it. It's just interesting to see. Now there was a theory and a leak going around about Tom Bombadil. I won't talk about it. If you've seen the leak, if you've heard the rumors, then you know why I would be concerned with what Tom Bombadil might be. But I'm gonna leave it at that, because if it's true, I really don't want to ruin it. And there are also leaks or rumors, so you can't really. There's no point in taking them as fact. So.
Dude.
No, what have you done to me?
Sauron's probably influencing his mind potentially.
Promise me, Elrond. You will not stop until he is
Super excited for the Siege of Eregion, and I think I'm assuming it will be the climactic end. I'm assuming it might be the middle point, but Amazon's been boasting that it's a 2-episode fight, very similar to the Battle of the Bastards in Game of Thrones. So there'll be some interesting comparisons to make to see the quality between the two, the storytelling between the two. Both were 2 episodes long, so to speak. Or was Battle of the Bastards 2 episodes? Or was it only 1, and then it was the battle in the totally pitch black fight that was 2 episodes? Doesn't matter. But the Battle of the Bastards was Game of Thrones' like first big expensive fight, and I think that's a very fair comparison to use. So it'll be interesting to see. And for me personally, and for those that are part of the channel, the story that I wrote, right, Balin's Expedition, my little prologue episode does show parts of the Siege of Eregion, and for those that are part of the channel would also know that, yeah, I sent my story to Amazon before they announced Rings of Power. If you're interested in that story, go check out the channel, and you'll just watch the videos there. Because I sent it to Amazon, I'd be curious to see what they wrote something that I wrote about. Were we both inspired by each other, or both inspired by what Tolkien wrote, and we came up with our own stories? Did Amazon like what I wrote in that way and is using some similar things? I made the script that I sent Amazon, I made very specific on what was mine and what was Tolkien's. So I'll be very curious to see what Amazon has decided to use. Not that I'm gonna go after them. Well, maybe I might have to. I don't know. But I'll be curious to see what they did, and I'll leave it at that.
Forgiveness takes an age.
Let's talk about the Entwives. Oops. I love this. I don't have a problem with this because the Entwives are something that were referenced in the movies and only in the extended editions, I believe. No, they were in the originals. They were in the theatrical release. So, but yeah, it'll be fun to see where they are. And maybe we'll see a Treebeard. That might be kind of fun. But this is the Entwives is an idea of, or one of those elements where Tolkien mentions them, but they're kind of then lost to mystery. And because of this mystery, you can kind of do what you want with it in some way. And I like those kinds of elements that Amazon does with Rings of Power. And I think they should focus more on that. Focus on the mystery stuff and kind of then put your own take on it. Rather than taking what was already established and then changing it. Take more of the things that aren't talked about. They're left up for interpretation. Take those things and play around with it. That's all. That's all I kind of wanted to say. I'm super excited to see what they do with the Entwives.
I need your axe, old friend.
Fight with me.
There's another. So this is. Can't say this is Shelob, but there was a lot of behind the scenes videos that every time, I don't remember the actor's name and I apologize for that, but every time Isildur was on screen, there'd be images of spiders behind him, and a lot of people, including myself, took that as, oh, it's Shelob, which isn't bad, right? So Isildur, when Mordor or the volcano Mount Doom erupted, it was presumed by everyone in the story that Isildur was dead, but obviously we know that's not the case, because otherwise that messes up a whole bunch of stuff. So he's lost in southern Mordor. Well, not even southern Mordor. Well, kind of, I guess. But yeah, he could be wandering around and stumbles upon Shelob. So that's fun. I've heard some crazy theories, and I have my own crazy theories. I don't know if I'll share them because, again, I don't know if it steps too close into the ruining of the story. It's more because it's, and I think it's, I don't know if it's based around a leak, because the Pharazôn thing being the Witch King, that is a pure theory. It's not based on a leak. It's not based on Tolkien's writings, so it's not technically a spoiler. It's purely just a theory. This stuff around Shelob and Isildur is a mixture of a theory and leaks, so I'll probably not mention it, but there could be some interesting things that happen between Shelob and Isildur, so I'll be curious to see where they go with it.
Fight with our friends!
The Entwives have to have the big battle. I'm curious where he is, because also the last time we saw him, he was south. So I don't know if we're... Maybe he's also in Enedwaith. I'm just curious who these are. If they're supposed to be something specific, or if it's just a random fight. It's rare to... I guess it could be the Southlanders that have decided to work with Sauron, but just the environment doesn't match Mordor or Harad at all. So, just curious is all. Got some bants. Love seeing the eagles. don't have a problem with this, and this kind of, there could be an interesting relationship between the Eagles and Pharazôn, and how he's trying to turn more evil, so to speak, under Sauron's influence, and the Eagles are upset with him, but maybe not all of the Eagles are. So there's just some fun stuff to work with. Siege of Eregion, super excited for it. Looks great.
You will give me the 9.
So this is what's interesting to me. So this tells me that Amazon wants to lead up to the making of the 9. Now, I struggle with it again because it's my biggest issue with the first season of Rings of Power, which is the Elven rings were made first. And to me, it harms Celebrimbor's character so much. Where, like, he made the 9 Elven ring, or the 9 rings of men. He made the 7 dwarf rings with Sauron's aid. And then when he found out it was actually Sauron, he felt like he betrayed his people. He felt like he messed up, that he doomed Middle-earth. And that's kind of what led him to make the 3 Elven rings. So I'm assuming he's going to be forced to make these rings. But then I'm confused on why Sauron needs him to do it. Because I feel like Sauron could just do it himself at this point. But anyways, I'm assuming we're leading to the 9 Nazgul, and Amazon will show us who they believe the 9 Nazgul are. Shot of a troll, super fun to see. This is Elrond arriving from essentially Lindon, but also Imladris, to Eregion. I think he's supposed to, and then in theory, he should meet with the dwarves, because the dwarves are supposed to help, but we'll see how that goes. Yeah, because, that's Eregion in the back there. See, these trees all look like the wraiths. Or like look like the same trees that the wraiths are in. So I almost wonder then maybe the Siege of Eregion happens, and when Galadriel maybe goes there with some elves, they arrive too late, and Sauron has already poisoned the land, so to speak, and now the wraiths are kind of elves. Maybe? I don't know. That's a thought. I'm just going based on the environment, really. Trying to use those as clues. Okay, that's it. So August 29th. Let me just switch cameras here. Boom. Okay. So yeah, that's our breakdown. That's our review. I have hope for season 2. I see a lot of good things, especially when you compare it to the first season's trailer of Rings of Power, where the first season's trailer didn't show a whole lot. They tried to entice you with dialogue and just show you images that aren't actually the dialogue isn't in reality not connected to the images that you see. But this, I'm seeing a lot of things, so that makes me intrigued and excited that the season will be more packed with action and events that just events in general, rather than it being a slow, drawn out, lots of filler episodes that are kind of irrelevant, lots of characters that don't matter. Sorry. Yeah, so I'm super excited. Or I guess I shouldn't say I'm super excited. I'm super hopeful. But I do have my fears, and I have my doubts. So Amazon has to prove me wrong, and I'm willing to be proved wrong. If season 2 is amazing, I love that for Lord of the Rings in general. I really hope it's good. I just have my fears and doubts as well. But yeah, thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this breakdown, and I hope you stick around. I hope you subscribe. I hope you come watch some streams, as I do stream on Twitch and under same name, Morgamir WD on Twitch. Subscribe to the YouTube, and I will always keep a open and honest discussion about all things Lord of the Rings here and shows in general. And we'll keep up to date with the news. So I hope I see you around next time. But thank you for watching. Bye-bye.